bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night for watching this transmission. Thanks for sharing and being part of the channel. Guys, we're hearing rumors of war. We're hearing discussion of war. We're hearing everything under the sun. War. Now, today we're going to take a look at the geopolitics that was happening that caused World War I. And it's kind of important because it was actually brought up a week ago, a few days ago, and it's not getting any headlines, and it's not really being picked up by anybody. And if we see the prelude to a war, or what caused the geopolitical tensions coming out of Europe, obviously pouring into parts of Africa, and obviously into Russia and parts of the Middle East affected, into India and China. America could have stayed out of it, but we know on this channel what happened and why America got into that war. And it's a little bit involved there, but we can't really discuss that here due to being shut down. So anyways, let's take a look at what's happening, and I kind of want to throw this out there because it's kind of important, because we need to connect the dots to figure out the systems, the infrastructure, what was at play at the time, and who wanted to be the dominant superpower at the time. And that's the issue that we're dealing with, is that a majority of superpowers or have a tough time handing the reign over, or not even handing the reign over, but accepting the change and stuff. And I'm very we're on the losing end here. I'm in the West. I'm in Canada. So we're on the losing end. And I feel that, we've given up our industry. We've given up we're giving up our rights every day. Politically, it's a disaster. Economically, it's even worse. It's $1.3 million for a tear-down home. And any drive on 2-3 hours away from me, everything's so expensive. It's getting out of control. And these tensions, are they getting better? I don't know. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So this is a very important piece of literature here. Now, Kissinger, when you start getting big players or big global players that make the papers or make media or make the news, sometimes they're trying to send us a signal, right? Or they're trying to, let's say, maybe promote something. What's the true agenda, right? So let's go to article scan here for you guys to see. This is very important, and we're going to go into a paper that was written that explains the geopolitical issues that led to World War I. So Kissinger warns Washington, accept new global system or face pre-World War I geopolitical situation. So what does he mean? With the White House continually provoking tensions against Russia and China, the doyen of American foreign policy, Henry Kissinger, dramatically warned Washington last week to either agree to a new international system or continue pushing tensions that are leading to a situation similar to the eve of World War I. Remember, guys, history is doomed to repeat itself, right? In recent Chatham House webinar with the former British Foreign Secretary, 97-year-old Kissinger called on the U.S. to create a balance with existing global forces, adding, "If you imagine that the world commits itself to an endless competition based on the dominance of whoever is superior at the moment, then a breakdown of the order is inevitable, and the consequences of a breakdown would be catastrophic." The veteran diplomat urged the U.S. to understand that not every issue has final solutions, and warned, if we don't get an understanding with China on that point, then we will be pre-World War I type situation in which there are perennial conflicts that get solved on an immediate basis, but one of them gets out of control at some point. So we know what's happening with all the conflicts surrounding that area, the whole China border conflicts on the Russian border. We got conflicts in India, China border. with the Sin-Indu line of border dispute they've been having there since after World War II with India and China. What else? Like all kinds that's been happening geopolitically. You got the China taking up islands and creating these islands of war. We got all kinds of stuff that's happening when it comes to that, and Suez Canal getting plugged up every 2 weeks now. It's almost like really bad heartburn or something. It never ends, right? So the geopolitical tensions for World War I. So let's keep going here. However, the idea that the U.S. should stop imposing its will on everyone else would not be easily accepted in Washington. This is attested by a sharp rhetoric and personal insults that U.S. President Joe Biden continually levels against his Russian and Chinese counterparts Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. High-ranking Chinese official Yang Jiechi told the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on March 18 in Alaska. Remember the Alaskan summits? We covered it on Mike in the Night because it was kind of important. The United States does not have the qualification to say that it does not. It wants to speak to China from a position of strength. Then, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi boldly said days later on March 22nd during their meeting in Beijing that they jointly safeguarded multilateralism, maintained the international system with the UN and its core and international order based on international law, while firmly opposing unilateral sanctions as well as interface in other countries and international affairs. Kissinger's career is washed in blood when we remember his backing of Pakistan during the Bangladesh's War of Independence, despite the massacre of hundreds of thousands of people and mass rape. So we're not going to go into that right now because I don't want to get my channel flagged. But however, this is the most recent statement about the U.S. and international system is actually a mature proposal that would be beneficial for world peace if Biden administration accepts his advice. That the global order is changing. It is unlikely that Washington is ready to unilaterally end its hard and soft power aggression as it falsely believes it can maintain a unipolar order. That's a good way of putting it, unipolar order. It was difficult for great powers to accept the world has changed, especially when it is their determined. The behavior that Biden administration, which deliberately uses threatening and inappropriate rhetoric, demonstrates that it will not rationally accept a multipolar world system, especially since Russia-phobia and xenophobia are on the rise. So Washington's misguided policy of aggression to maintain unipolar world order worked in the favor of China and Russia, especially in accelerating their cooperation. The West can no longer suppress China's economic power and Russia's military power. Military strategists in the West are aware that the Russo-Sino Corporation cannot be compensated by anything. So it happened. It started with the Portuguese basically ruling the seas. Because the British were at war with the French, everybody was at war with it was the Portuguese. They had the best trading routes. They had the best. That's why a lot of countries today speak Portuguese, because the Portuguese embedded there for 400-500 years, 300 years longer in Asia than any other European nation. Then it was handed over to somewhat the Spanish, but the Spanish weren't really in the Orient. The Spanish were almost 100 years after the Portuguese with their colonialism, but 100 years later. And then it was the English that were allowed to, they were given the green light to blow up Portuguese ships in harbors anywhere in the world. They were given the green light by the Queen to blow up any Portuguese ship and destroy them, because they were all shipping vessels. They didn't have a lot of war vessels. And that's when the Portuguese had to surrender its sea superiority to the English, and then from the English, the French tried to get in it, but it didn't work. And And because the Portuguese refused to trade through the East Indian Trading Company. So then it went to the British, and then for the British held it until almost World War II, and then the United States of America after World War I, and then it just went on since then. Now, let's take a look at the geopolitical. So this is a paper. Okay, this is on page 7 of this. I'm going to give you the name here of what it's called. It's called the University of Belgrade Faculty of Economics. This is Geopolitical and Geoeconomical Causes of the First World War. I'm going to go to full scan here so you guys can see. I want to go down here to page, where was it here? Yeah. Okay, so I kind of want to read this part to you guys because this is what is actually happening. By default, the causes of war are long-standing rivalries at attempts of one side to change existing layout of positions in bilateral or multilateral relations. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. On the regional, again, okay, watch this. Transcontinental, that's what we're seeing today. Transoceanic and global plane. So again, that's why I mentioned the Portuguese first. They were first, they had all the trade routes, and then they had to surrender basically to other powers who had the bigger guns, right? Or, yeah, didn't play along with the drug trafficking. The causes of war are defined in economic, military, strategical, political, religions, civic, and other interests. And the main goal has always been from predominant community and information society. So imagine the information society we're in today, right? The expansion of territory which is governed directly or indirectly managed. Now, I don't think a lot of countries are in it anymore for military virtue via land expansion. I don't think that's what it is. It's more of an economic, instead of military, an economic virtue via financial sector. Okay. And the expansion of territory which is governed directly or directly managed. When the conditions are right, i.e., when conflicting interests reach a critical level of conflict, one teeters on the brink of war, and history shows that the immediate motive for its outbreak is easily found or provoked. The intention to present the motive as a cause of war is not just an attempt to revise historical facts, but also multidimensional manipulation. This is extremely well written. Let me go back to article scan so you can see. Multi-dimensional manipulation. To carry out such an attempt on example of the First World War, 1 century later, is directed at amnesty of the true culprits from 1914 and 1939. And the crowning proof, the assassination of Sarajevo and Serbian ethnicity falsely accused and systematically stigmatized in the West because of the war-shattering disintegration of Yugoslavia for already a quarter century since the 1990s. Serbs and Serbia have become an ideal scapegoat for the transfer of such guilt complex. However, this is only transitional phase on the path of bringing the Serbian pardon, and allegedly the real culprit was Russia. So there's a lot happening on the back end. Who's the real culprit today? A lot of geopolitical movements, and when it went into discussing the information that was obviously, it's fake. The information is fake that's been given to the people. People misled into taking arms, and people misled into getting into positions they shouldn't be getting into. Anyways, guys, I kind of wanted to throw this out there because this is kind of important, and Kissinger makes a lot of sense to this. But again, I'm on the losing end of this. I'm in the West. I'm in Canada. Our country's been deteriorating since 1993. And it hasn't gotten better since 1993. We've raised taxes, I don't know how many hundreds of percent since 1993. And if you look at that date, if you look at that year, it's the formation or the creation of the European Union. And that's when everything started to go to poop. Let me know in the comments below. What do you guys think of this? I look forward, very forward, to reading your comments. Mike Martin's here, reporting. Thanks for watching. I have spoken.